Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Bhai Rajakacharya Shtadara Satashishiman Om I Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Vimsik Aho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Angaranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And to all your beloved spiritual masters. Oops. Cover my head with my book. Om Akinitimandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripata Mahang Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Panchaka Patrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we're reading Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 3, Text 23, Texts 4 and 5. Again, that's 3, 3rd Canto, 23rd chapter, Texts 4 and 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In case there's anyone who's joining us tonight who hasn't been with us before or who hasn't heard me give class, I want to apologize ahead of time for my vocal cords, which have been damaged. So sometimes when I try to say a word, it doesn't come out and I have to repeat. So it's not anything I can really help. So please bear with me. Hare Krishna. Okay, so I'm going to read the Sanskrit and the translation and the purport, and then we'll go over the, of course, we'll repeat the translation first, and then I'll go over the purport, and then we'll do it again and discuss the purport, okay? Savai Devarshi Varyastam Manaving Samanuvratam Daivad Guryasaha Patyur Ashanam Mahashi Shaha Kalena Bhuyasakshamam Harshidam Ratacharya Prema Gadgadaya Vacha Vidita Kripaya Bravit Saha He Kardamamuni Vai certainly Deva Rishi of the celestial sages Varyaha the foremost Tam her Manavim the daughter of Manu, Samanu Vratam, fully devoted. Daivat, then providence. Gariyasaha, who was greater. Patyu, from her husband. Ashasanam, expecting. Maha Ashishaha, Maha Ashishaha, great blessings. Kalena Bhuyasa, for a long time. Kshamam, weak. Karshitam, initiated. Vratacharyaya, by religious observances. Prema, with love. Gadgadaya, stammering. Vacha, with a voice. Piditaha, overcome. Kripaya, with compassion. Abravit, he said. Translation. The daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than providence. Thus, she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kardama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in a voice choked with great love. So go ahead and repeat the translation now. The daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than providence. Thus, she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kardama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in a voice choked with great love. Purport. The wife is expected to be of the same category as the husband. She must be prepared to follow the principles of the husband. And then there will be happy life. If the husband is a devotee and the wife is materialistic, there cannot be any peace in the home. The wife must see the tendencies of the husband and must be prepared to follow him. From Mahabharata, we learn that when Gandhari understood that her would-be husband, Dhritarashtra, was blind, she immediately began to practice blindness herself. Thus, she covered her eyes and played the part of a blind woman. She decided that since her husband was blind, she must also act like a blind woman. Otherwise, she would be proud of her eyes, and her husband would be seen as inferior. The word samanuvrata indicates that it is the duty of a wife to adapt the special circumstances in which the husband is situated. Of course, if the husband is as great as Karma Muni, then a very good result accrues from following him. But even if the husband is not a great devotee, like Karma Muni, it is the wife's duty to adapt herself according to his mentality. That makes married life very happy. It is also mentioned herein that by following the strict vows of a chaste woman, Princess Devahuti became very skinny, and therefore her husband became compassionate. He knew that she was the daughter of a great king, and yet was serving him just like an ordinary woman. She was reduced in health by such activities, and he became compassionate and addressed her as follows. Okay. So translation again, the daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than Providence. Thus she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kardama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in a voice choked with great love. Okay, I forgot to get my lamp, so let me just get that. You can pause it if you want. Sure. Oops. This way. There we go. Okay, Hare Krishna. So let's go over the purport again. And by the way, I wanted to share with all of you that I've noticed that after we do these classes, it's the Srimad Bhagvatam that I remember more than the other book that we're studying. Yes, my darling Ruchi. Hare Krishna. Please join us, Ruchi. Okay, so I'm sure you all have some experience you'd like to share as well. So I've been noticing that these wonderful verses and purports that we've been reading together, some of the sentences keep going through my mind and helping me, giving me inspiration. So I hope you're all feeling that as well. So the first sentence of the purport is, the wife is expected to be of the same category as the husband. So this means, Srila Prabhupada, I looked on Vedabase and I looked this up, this kind of concept, and the first hit that came up was something that had to do with Devahuti and Kardama Muni. And it was talking about how Kardama Muni and Devahuti were, he was a Brahmana and she was from a Kshatriya background. So then Srila Prabhupada was explaining how compatibility has to be there between the boy and the girl. Otherwise, if, like he mentioned here, if the husband is devotee, if he's like a spiritually inclined person and the wife is materialistic, then it's going to be very hellish for both of them. So in another place in the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada actually even says that devotees should be married to devotees and demons should be married to demons. And he was talking about astrology, how there's a way to tell if a person is Deva Gun, Manusha Gun, or Rakshasa Gun, and you should pay attention to that when you're trying to help someone find a spouse, because it's very important to have those matched up. But then at the end, Srila Prabhupada says, but if the boy and girl are devotees, then it's going to be a wonderful no matter what. Of course, there's a big difference between an actual pure devotee and an aspiring devotee on the very lowest rung of the devotional ladder. So we have to be realistic, and when we're trying to help our children find spouses, we need to check these things so that they're not up against too many challenges. They can, have a fairly peaceful married life, because the world is so difficult and it's so challenging that why give our children more misery than they need? It's already coming to them. So the wife and the husband should be of the same category. The wife must be prepared to follow the principles of the husband, and then there will be happy life. So in some previous purports that we have read, Srila Prabhupada has said that when there's a disagreement between the husband and the wife should tolerate. Otherwise, there can be so much misery in married life. So here, he's putting it in a positive way. He says that if the wife follows the principles of the husband, then their life will be happy. Now he goes on to say, there cannot be any peace in the home. The wife must see the tendencies of the husband and must be prepared to follow him. So this is true for all of us, for every wife. She must see the tendencies of her husband and be prepared to follow him. That can be very, very troublesome in some cases. So, but we must try our best and depend on Krishna. From Mahabharata, we learned that when Gandhari understood that her would-be husband Dhritarashtra was blind, she immediately began to practice blindness herself. Thus, she covered her eyes and played the part of a blind woman. She decided that since her husband was blind, she must also act like a blind woman. Otherwise, she would be proud of her eyes, and her husband would be seen as inferior. Now, if you're married to a blind man, you don't necessarily have to put on a blindfold, but the idea here is that we don't want to appear better than our husband, because that is belittling to our husband, discouraging to him. And we know from reading Srila Prabhupada's books that the man always wants to be in the superior position, not in the inferior position. So it's our duty to make sure that he is kept in that superior position. And another point that Srila Prabhupada is making is that Gandhari was humble. She was taking a humble position. And we read that about Devahuti as well, is that she took a humble position in relation to her husband. And Prabhupada also says that the wives of Krishna, all the queens, they took a humble position as maidservants of Krishna. So we should also do like that, always practicing humility. If we're not actually humble, at least if we practice humility, then Krishna will eventually bestow humility on our hearts. Natural humility will arise also when we become pure, when we become actually attached to the Lord of our heart, and we see the Lord at every moment. So when that happens, we have natural humility because we're always in a service attitude. So Samanuvrata indicates that it is the duty of a wife to adopt the special circumstances in which the husband is situated. Let's look in the word for word synonyms. Samanuvratam in the word for word synonyms is defined as fully devoted. So in the word for word synonyms, Samanuvrata means fully devoted. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says it means that the wife adopts the special circumstances in which the husband is situated. So if we break down the Sanskrit, Shraddha, you're really good at Sanskrit. I'm thinking that saman or sama means the same, and vrata means vow. So in other words, she takes the same vow as the husband, or in other words, she adopts his mood, and in that way, she is fully devoted to him. Of course, Srila Prabhupada says, of course, if the husband is as great as Kardama Muni, then a very good result accrues from following him. But even if the husband is not a great devotee, now our minds could go everywhere hearing this. Okay, well, that includes my husband. Each of us can think like that. That, you know, maybe one or two of us is married to a completely pure devotee, but the rest of us, we're married to ordinary guys who are just trying to be devotees. And we're ordinary girls just trying to be sadhvis. Who remembers the definition Srila Prabhupada gave of a sadhvi? You can unmute yourself and answer. What is the definition of a sadhvi that we just read last week? Who wants to answer?
I don't remember, Mataji. Sorry.
You're so honest. That's very nice. Your truthfulness is very beautiful. Okay, well, Srila Prabhupada said it means a chaste and faithful wife. So a sadhvi means a chaste and faithful wife. So we all want to be sadhvis. We want to be chaste and faithful wives. But maybe our husband is not a great devotee like Kardama Muni. Still, it is the wife's duty to adapt herself according to his mentality. So we have our work cut out for us. We have to adapt ourselves to our husband's mentality. And if that's just too difficult, that's okay. We just pray. Pray to be able to do it. And if we can't, then we pray for the desire to be able to adapt ourselves to the mentality of our husband. Never give up. Never give up trying. Never give up praying. Okay? Because as as Srila Prabhupada, as it is said in the translation, Devahuti looked upon her husband as greater even than Providence. Madhvacharya said that a chaste woman should see her husband as the Supreme Lord. But Devahuti saw Kardama Muni as greater than the Supreme Lord. So that's perfectly okay to treat your husband even better than you treat Krishna. Okay? That's Shastric evidence. That's Shastra Praman right there. The Devahuti saw her husband as greater than God. So, like for instance, if you're doing some seva to the deities, you're doing some puja, and your husband calls you from the other room, you say, "Excuse me, my lord," and you go out and you say, "Yes, Prabhu." Okay, like that. That's why Krishna has given us the Srimad Bhagvatam so that we can learn from great souls like Devahuti. Devahuti is, she was described as the greatest example of womanhood. So we can follow in her footsteps, or try at least. Okay, so again, Srila Prabhupada says that this makes married life very happy. If the wife adapts herself to the mentality of the husband, this makes married life very happy. Prabhupada says, it is also mentioned herein that by following the strict vows of a chaste woman, Princess Devahuti became very skinny. So here we have it. Good weight loss plan in case any of us are trying to lose weight. Just serve your husband hand and foot without any question, without any argument, and you'll become skinny like Devahuti. Therefore, her husband became compassionate. He knew that she was the daughter of a great king, and yet was serving him just like an ordinary woman. She was reduced in health by such activities. And he became compassionate and addressed her as follows. Okay, so thank you for listening to the Srimad Bhagvatam. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Lord Shri Krishna. So now let's switch over to screen sharing. I have to, again and again, I have to remind myself how to do this. Okay. Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood. Okay. Okay, here we go. Does everybody see this? Okay, now today we're hoping that I'm going to be able to scroll myself because we've been having some trouble with this. Okay, so let's see. Page 140. Awesome, it worked, Shraddha. Something
Yes,
worked.
Mataji. Yeah.
Woo, yay, thank you, Krishna. Okay, so chapter 10, we're just going to go over this and see some places that I highlighted. Secret number 7, make the most of yourself. Everyone was supposed to have read this by last Saturday, and then we had to cancel the class. So we're just going to go back over this as we would have last week. Okay. Okay, Angela bought a love booklet. Hopefully everyone in the class has started their love booklet. Okay, this is mostly about kind of a lead up to the class. And then on Wednesday night class, Bev stands up and gives a little experience. So now the teacher, Harmony, she says, the most important time of your day is the moment your husband comes home. It is a highly sensitive time for him. It's the time when he will most appreciate a little tenderness and sympathy from you. It can make a world of difference to your marriage. Okay, so we've all, I'm sure, been practicing to receive our husbands nicely when they come in the door after working hard or after going shopping, whatever they do. Like when my husband goes out, it's that he's going into town to do some shopping. And sometimes he gets rained on and he really doesn't like that. Sometimes he can't find what he wanted. I made a big mistake the other day. I have to admit to all of you that I needed, when my husband went out shopping, I texted him a message. I said, Prabhu, can you please let me know before you leave town? Text message me before you leave town so that I'll have time to stand up and go unlock the door. So he didn't get my message. And so the next thing I knew, I was being awakened from my nap by loud knocking at the door. So I got up and I unlocked the door and I was not smiling. I said, you didn't get my message? And he said, no, I didn't get your message. And what he really needed me to do was sympathize with him because he had been through some difficulty. He didn't, get my message, and he came to the door without giving me any warning ahead of time. So, see, I should have been prepared for that possibility. And I should have been ready to greet him. I should have been ready to greet him more kindly. So we need to be careful of those things, okay? Then to continue, also remember to say nothing about yourself or any household problems until you have comforted him. For us in our house, that doesn't always work out because he eats much later than the time he comes home from town. But the idea is that you first give him a chance to talk, and you sympathize and you appreciate what he's been through, what he's accomplished, because men are achievement oriented. So they like to be noticed for their achievements, even if it's just, oh, look, Davy, I brought you so many nice, beautiful, fresh vegetables, and I brought you so much nice milk, and like that. So do try to appreciate every little thing, okay? Alrighty, so let's go on. See what else. Make the most of your hair, your figure, and your health. Okay, so in Krishna consciousness, we have definite clear-cut hairstyles that we follow. So that's not so much of a big deal. But when we're alone with art, have it flowing and lovely, if that's what he's attracted to. We can do it up in modern hairstyles if he likes that. But of course, when we're dealing with public, we should have our hair parted in the middle, tied back in a bun or a braid, like that, okay? Your figure should be slim, slender, and you should be, you know, well exercised so that your muscles are firm, your body is firm and smooth as best you can. So work on that. If you're not in top shape, then please work on that, because it'll help your husband, because men are visually inspired. So if they see a fat woman, they are not so usually, they're not so inspired and attracted. So that's just to be honest. You know, that's just honestly facing the truth. That's the way it is. That's the way it goes. So it's our responsibility to keep our figure nice for the pleasure and inspiration of our husband. And our health, we need to be always, you know, working on keeping our health at the topmost level. And some of us, we may have different kinds of diseases. So we do the best we can to keep those, you know, under control, and pray to Krishna and Dhanvantari to help us stay healthy. Take your vitamins, whatever you need to do to stay strong and have a, you know, radiant complexion. Okay. Oh, here she says, plumpness can be attractive to a man. Okay, so she says that men will still find us very attractive even if we are plump or large boned, if our curves or our contours are smooth and firm. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. So now Harmony says you can't separate a man from his sexuality. It's interwoven into his nature. God told us that sex desire stays. Does my voice stop working whenever I get this little window that pops up on my screen every once in a while that says my internet connection is unstable? So are you experiencing, ladies, that my voice is disappearing from time to time? Even when my mouth is moving, you can't hear me talking? Somebody tell me so that I know when little window pops up, I should just stop talking for a moment until it goes away.
We can hear you, Mataji, but your voice comes very little distorted and slow, as if you're talking in slow motion.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks for explaining. Okay. So remember about a man, an old man who was lying on his deathbed, and he was the friend of the emperor. And the emperor had a, no, he was the friend of the emperor's minister. And the minister, one day the emperor said to his minister, "How long does sex desire last? How long is this irritation, this agitation in the mind of man?" And the minister said, "Up until the point of death." And the emperor said, "Oh, that can't be. I will demonstrate for you. And tomorrow he brings you." So the next day, the emperor and his daughter, his beautiful young daughter, were ready. And the minister took a very old man who was on his deathbed. So they went inside, and the minister said to the emperor, "Watch the old man's eyes." So then they went into the bedroom where the old man was lying. And the emperor was watching the old man's eyes. And the old man immediately looked at the young girl. Sometimes he would look up at the minister, sometimes at the emperor, but he was looking at the young girl first, and he kept looking at her. So then after they finished their audience with the old man, they said goodbye to him and they walked out. And then they left the house, and the minister said, "So?" And the emperor said, "You have proved your theory correct. That this old man, he's on his deathbed, but the only thing he can think of is a beautiful young girl." So Srila Prabhupada was very realistic about that. So we need to also be compassionate toward our husband and understand that, excuse me, first of all, sex desire is a very, very strong force in the male body. And for a man to restrict himself to one wife is a huge, huge, huge sacrifice. It's way more than it is for us. In fact, a woman desires to devote her heart to one man and only one man. But a man, when he sees a beautiful woman, he immediately wants to enjoy her. He can't help it. That's just the way he's constructed. That's the way he's built. So we should have compassion for them and understand this and try to be as attractive to our husbands as we can. Okay, let's read this. When a woman combines cheerful enthusiasm, childlike humility, femininity, the sex appeal of an hourglass figure. Hourglass figure means like a gopi body. That's what we always called it when we were young devotees. We would talk about having a gopi body. I never had one, so I don't know what it's like. So an hourglass figure and appealing hair, she becomes a highly delightful creature to a man, almost irresistible, especially when she smiles. Okay, let's read that again. When a woman combines cheerful enthusiasm, childlike humility, femininity, the sex appeal of an hourglass figure, and appealing hair, she becomes a highly delightful creature to a man, almost irresistible, especially when she smiles. We've talked in the past about smiling brightly and having sparkling eyes, and how these are two of the features that please our husband the most, and they give him energy. That's why we call our group the power of inspiration, because Srila Prabhupada said that women are supposed to be the power of inspiration for men. So how to do that? Just follow this little paragraph. Cheerful enthusiasm, be cheerful, be enthusiastic. In fact, you know what the word enthusiasm comes from? It comes from the Greek word meaning filled with God. Filled with God. So enthusiasm means to be a woman who is enthusiastic, has chanted and heard her japa very nicely with concentration. She is devoting her life fully to Krishna consciousness, to doing everything that she does for the pleasure of Krishna. So in that way, she's filled with God. She's enthusiastic. Okay, let's start again. So let's be cheerful. Let's be enthusiastic. Let's have childlike humility. Let's be feminine. Let's try to keep our figures nice and keep our hair appealing to our husband. And on top of everything, smile. So we should never hold back our smiles. Always be ready with a beautiful smile for our husband. Of course, when he's not in a good mood, we shouldn't be throwing the smiles at him. Be sensitive and respectful and quiet. Let him get over. Let's read on. Most men prefer longer hair on a woman. So to be attractive to men, we need to look at what men do and do the opposite. They're always shaving their heads. Our husbands are always keeping their heads shaved. So we should let our hair grow long. And if it's getting in the way, if you have a tiny baby who's always pulling your hair, then keep it tied up. And then it won't be so much trouble. Most men don't find permed hair attractive. You girls may not be so familiar with permed hair, but in America, where I come from, it's a very common thing for a woman to go into a beauty salon. It's called a salon, not a saloon. Here in India, they call them saloons. A saloon is actually a place where you go to drink alcohol, but a salon is where you go in to have your hair fixed and sometimes cut. So many women in America go into beauty salons or hair salons and they get their hair cut and they get their hair permed. A perm is a way where they use some chemicals. They put the hair in these little things called some kind of chemicals on them. It smells really bad. And then after it's dry, then the lady who's doing the hair, she takes out all those little curlers and she combs the hair and it's very curly, like Radharani. Radharani's hair was very curly, right? So women have a tendency to want to be the supreme goddess. And so they curl their hair very tight. But it often looks very ugly. Okay. So now Harmony is talking about hairstyles that appeal to men, hair coloring. I know devotees who color their hair, or who used to. I know a friend of mine who stopped coloring her hair just a few months ago, and she just sent me a photo of herself with her natural hair color. It's not that you can't be beautiful with gray hair, but most of you are still young, so you don't have much to worry about. Best to stay away from those chemical hair colors because they're not good for your scalp, they're not good for your skin or for your bloodstream. So be very careful, okay? Try to be satisfied with the natural color that Krishna has given you. And if your husband doesn't like it, then try to find something natural that's actually not going to hurt your skin. Okay, so I highlighted this. Let's read this. A plain woman who makes the most of herself and lives the first 5 secrets of every time, while the ravishing beauty who lacks inner goodness and understanding of a man's deeper needs will miss out every time. Here she's talking about exercise, how important it is. Another big benefit from exercise is that we work off our stresses. So yeah, exercise doesn't just keep the body slim and fit, but it also makes us feel happy. So it's a good idea to get some exercise in daily if possible. There's an Ayurvedic doctor here in Udupi who told me that you should exercise until you feel perspiration coming out. So that's how he measures the, how much exercise to do. He measures it by how much, the body is stressed enough to produce perspiration. So another big benefit from exercise is that we work off our stresses. Things don't seem to worry us so much and we sleep better. Okay. Okay, so this is a good idea. If we don't have the kind of body that we would like to have or that our husband would like us to have, we can put that as a goal on our goal list. So think about that and consider it seriously, to write down as your goal the kind of body that your husband would like you to have and make it into a positive affirmation so that you're making it in the present, you're visualizing it in the present, you're asking Krishna to help you to come to that goal, and you're thanking Krishna for helping you do it, okay? As if it's already achieved. Okay, we need to be healthy to be fascinating to our husbands. Good health brings out qualities in a woman that are highly attractive to a man. So now Harmony is listing some of them on the board. Fresh complexion, shiny hair, vivaciousness. You know what this word means? Vivaciousness, it means to be, viva means life, to be full of life, lively. Sparkling eyes, we talk about that a lot. Liveliness, that's the same as vivaciousness. Cheerful voice. Optimism. Optimism is a nice quality. And in fact, it reminds me of Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada said to my godbrother Makanlal one time, expect Krishna's mercy. So expect Krishna's mercy means to never become hopeless, to always be hopeful that Krishna will fulfill my desire. And today is Saturday. Saturday is Lord Nrsimhadev's favorite day of the week. And he told Shani Dev is a pure devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, and he told Shani Dev that because he is the protector of the entire universe, Raksha Bhuvana, he also fulfills the desire of his devotees. So we can pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to help us be always optimistic, to always have hope. Okay, so over here on the right-hand side, it says, a lovely innocent smile. A lovely innocent smile is a priceless asset to a woman. If you feel self-conscious about your teeth, get them fixed. Get them fixed up by a dentist. That's good advice. We should all have nice looking teeth. Tips for lifelong health. Now we've got time for a few more health tips before we close. Creating beautiful things always seems to help a woman's health. Whoa, this is a really important principle. Krishna has given each and every one of us talents. We may be a singer, we may be an artist, we may be a seamstress, we may be a person who knits or crochets or embroiders, we may be a cook, we may be a healthcare provider, we may be expert at cleaning our house, and we may be very talented at decorating. We may be a writer. There are so many good qualities that we may have been given by Krishna. So we should use those in Krishna's service. Whatever our talents are, we should use those in Krishna's service. And we can pray to our spiritual master, and even we can ask our husband for advice about this. How do you So creating beautiful things always seems to help a woman's health. So it not only gives enlivenment and encouragement and pleasure to others to create beautiful things, to create lovely things with our talents, but it also helps us to be healthy because it makes us happy. It makes us feel fulfilled. So that's why I always, always, always keep a creative project that I'm working on. And whenever I have my other duties done, then I can go to my creative project. And even if I can only work on it for 15 minutes a day, at least I get a little bit in, because it makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me feel like I'm using the talents that Krishna has given me for the benefit of others. So use the talents that Krishna has given you for the benefit of others. And if you don't have any talents, you feel like you don't have any talents, then ask someone who's a good friend, what can you tell me, what is a talent that I have? And maybe she'll be able to tell you something that you're not even thinking of as a talent. And maybe then you can focus on that and use that in the service of others. Okay. So we might like to include a creative hobby as part of our personal growth. Also, going to bed early and getting up early is important for lifelong health. Okay, I raise my hand. I'm really bad about this. I have a tendency to stay up late because all during the day, I'm engaged in service to my husband, to my deities, and taking care of my health, and taking care of others. So then when it comes to be nighttime, I feel like, whew, finally I get some time to myself, some time to do my creative projects. So that's my shortcomings, that I go to bed too late. But I'm working on it, trying to improve in that area. Always trying, never giving up. Okay, so everyone, I hope you're all good at getting to bed early and getting up early. Okay, now it says, and plenty of fresh air, even during winter. So here it's not a big deal during winter, at least down here in the south in Udupi. It's warm all winter. It's not cold here, so it's not like you have to keep your windows closed. Of course, it's raining. So, and my husband personally, he doesn't like to let the rain in. So we keep the windows closed when it's raining. But we should try to make sure we have fresh air. Prabhupada told us that children should sleep in a room with a window, but they should never be under a fan, like a wind. Wind is bad for children when they're sleeping, but they should have fresh air. So they should have at least one window. Okay, get stale. Our body needs full oxygen, is very important for health. We die in 4 minutes without oxygen. Okay. And if we want to enjoy continual health, we need to avoid emotional upsets like getting angry or even too much excitement. We shouldn't worry about the future or dwell on the past. Just live one day at a time. Well, Krishna consciousness helps us in that area, because when we're chanting the holy name, we're trying to stay focused on the holy name. We're trying to stay present with Krishna, because we're in the presence of Krishna. In the presence of his holy name means we're in the presence of Krishna. So during that whole 2 hours that we're chanting his holy names, we're in the direct presence of Krishna. So that if we're focusing on Krishna and the sound of his holy name during japa time, then that gives us a much better chance of living in the present during our day. So that is one way, one very good way to stay, to be able to live in the present, as she's talking about living one day at a time. It's not that we can't plan ahead. We should plan ahead. Be, wise and practical about our life. Like we talked recently about making a list, making a daily list. So we should do that. It's very helpful. It helps us to utilize Krishna's time efficiently. So, but the idea is that if we're always thinking of Krishna, we're always doing everything that we do for Krishna, everything we think, we're thinking for Krishna's pleasure, we're thinking of Krishna. Everything we say, we try to say in a way that would be pleasing to Krishna. And even everything that we perceive, we try to offer to Krishna. So when we're in that kind of mentality, that's called living in the present. And that is living one day at a time. In other words, you're not worrying about the future. You're not fretting over the past. Okay. Okay, again, she mentions exercising is a much better way to relax and to sleep well. Singing and laughing also relax us. Singing, we do every day. We do kirtan every day. And this helps us to relax. It not only helps us to relax, but it gives joy to our heart because we're singing Krishna's names. And Krishna's names are full of happiness and joy. It's always good whenever we have a tendency, sometimes we may have a tendency to get a little down or a little depressed feeling. So what I like to do, if I have the ability to do it and I have the time and the chance, is I like to go to my Pinterest board. I have a particular Pinterest board that's full of funny stuff. And when I look at those and read them, they make me laugh so hard. And it's very healing. Listen to people tell jokes or whatever, things like that to help you laugh. Going to church, temple, listening to your favorite music. This is also very relaxing. We should try and enjoy some nice music every day. So, most important, we should smile. Smiling is actually very healing. I like to sometimes remind myself just to smile, even when no one else is around. Especially if I'm feeling kind of down or kind of not so good. If I smile, it actually changes the way I feel inside. So you can try that as well. Okay, so assignment 1, ask your husband to tell you truthfully what hair length and hairstyles he thinks you look nicest in, and wear your hair that way for him. Okay, so we already discussed that. Assignment 2, start an enjoyable exercise program that you can continue throughout your life. And I would like to reiterate something that I said last time, was that somebody shared on the Dharma Putney group that the best kind of exercise for a woman is housework. So again, we talked about Fly Lady. Fly Lady is a person who lives in North Carolina in USA. And she has a program online where you can join, and she teaches you how to step-by-step way that's really fun, and it's really rewarding, and it's very practical. She teaches you how to do things like hotspots. Hotspots are places where, like the dining room table or like a nightstand, some place where a lot of clutter accumulates. I have a shelf in my bedroom that's a hotspot, and every once in a while I have to just put on my timer for 15 minutes, sit down in front of my shelf and take stuff off the shelf, go through the stuff, see what I can throw away or what I can give away, and then put the shelf back in order before my timer goes off. So this is the idea of working with hotspots, and it's really fun and satisfying when you see how much work you can get done in 15 minutes. Housework is really good exercise for a lady. Okay, obtain some good books. This is assignment 3. Obtain some good books on nutrition. Study them carefully and work out a balanced diet for yourself and also your family if they will accept it. Okay, so. Okay, so for next week, please read chapter 11, secret number 8, femininity delights a man. And it's going to be up to you whether you want to do the homework for this coming chapter or not. Because what we're going to do this coming Saturday on the 22nd is we're going to have an overview. We're going to go over some of the things that we have learned in the past. And talk about them. Okay, so we're going to have kind of a refresher next. Scroll down and see what the assignments. Chapters are really long, aren't they? Okay, the assignments for chapter 11. Say to your husband in your own words, darling, I want to become more feminine for you. Please tell me the truth. What do you find the most unfeminine thing about me? When he has told you, phrased, repeat assignment 1 as a New Year's really interesting assignment. I like that. Say to your husband, I want to become more feminine. What is the most unfeminine thing about me? And then after he tells you, and you rephrase that, you make it into a positive affirmation and add it to your goal list. So that's really cool. I like that. Now, assignment 2, for 2 whole days this week, think before speaking and phrase every sentence that you say to your husband in a positive voice and a smile. Observe the difference in his reaction. Assignment 3, sing in the hearing of your husband at least once this week. Well, I do that every day, so. Assignment 4, ask your husband to honestly analyze your entire wardrobe, including footwear, nightwear, and swimwear, and rate everything feminine or unfeminine. Then discard or plan to discard anything he finds unfeminine. Have your husband choose what he considers to be an ultra-feminine dress from a pattern book and make the dress yourself. Okay, well, I can tell you ahead of time, I'm not going to do that. I've already done enough sewing in my life, and I don't have a sewing machine here in India, so I'm just sticking to saris and chudidars because my husband likes those. So. You can do whatever you like. Assignment 6, have your husband take back at least don't feel very feminine. Okay, so chapter 11 ends on, let's see, page 179. So be prepared with that for next week. Okay, right. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions or comments or realizations, or if you've done some homework you'd like to share with us, tell us about. That was really nice when Sri Lekha showed us her daily list that she makes. She writes a daily list and then she ticks things off as she accomplishes them. So that's a really, really good thing, Sri Lekha. Thank you for sharing that with us. And if anyone else has something they'd like to share, that is either a homework assignment or something that you've just been inspired to do on your own, then you can share that with us. For joining us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ma.
Dandavat pranam for Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Ma.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.